This one has met an interesting fate. Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. I don't trade guitars around too often, but it just happened to work out as a combo new guitar day for the Tuxedo 70s Les Paul Custom that we had just recently documented. I know what you're thinking. Hey, Trogly, we've already reviewed the Dave Mustaine Flying V. Why are we doing this again? That's because somebody added a kill switch to this one. And that someone is Nick. Apparently the story is somebody had returned this to the Music Zoo and they just put it up on their website for a screaming good deal. That was about a year and a half ago, and he picked this thing up and he always wanted the Buckethead kill switch, but he couldn't afford the signature, so he decided to throw it on the Dave Mustaine just for fun. And he was emailing me about a year ago saying, hey, do you think it would absolutely destroy the value of this guitar if I convert Mustaine back here into Buckethead? Because he was claiming he had the skills to do that and make it look good. And even though I told him, hey, you've already put the kill switch in there, there's nothing else you can do to further devalue it outside of crack it in half. I gave him my blessing, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But little did I know I would end up getting this guitar, as well as one more plus cash. But I figure, when else am I going to get the opportunity to review one exactly like this? Because the last time we reviewed the Dave Mustaine USA model, it was a pre-production release guitar. There were also custom shop versions made. We've talked about those in reviews and demos between the flame top version and the straight up ebony, as well as the green limited edition USA. And there's currently promises of Explorers and Les Pauls with Dave Mustaine specs coming in the near future. But it really feels like maybe these Vs are towards the end of their life cycle. And the initial retail price of these is $2,799. Back then, those pre-productions resold on the used market for about $4,000. However, now in 2025, it's not unusual to be able to pick one of these things up for about $1,000 off the brand new price. So sometimes it's fun to recheck out a guitar when the levels are different, because I did not like this guitar all that much when I first reviewed it. Dave prefers this really slim and wide neck profile that I wasn't a big fan of. But that's why it's his signature guitar and not mine. So let's go ahead and throw this one onto the workbench to see what all he did to it. Inside the Bucketstaine, let's go ahead and check out our pickups. It's still the stock set, SH1N in the neck, Seymour Duncan branded on both the top and back. They're a flat black material. Then we have Dave's signature Seymour Duncan thrash factor in the bridge. They've got the interesting black base plates too. I get readings of 16.3 K ohms in that bridge pickup, 7.5 in the neck, and then the middle just for fun, 5.19. Now let's see if this actually works. It should go to 0. Yep, we seem to be good. But did you notice this has actually been modified? Originally, this guitar had 2 volumes and a master tone. This has been cut down. That way he didn't have to necessarily drill another hole there. He has simply rewired it to a single master volume and master tone. And he's replaced our toggle switch tip with a metal one that's a little bit flatter on the top. And I believe he added these black thumb bleeders to it. But if you're not familiar with what a kill switch is, it just temporarily cuts your signal so you can get some cool stuttering effects. And you can even use it kind of like picking if you have a strong enough fretting hand. Check out Buckethead's work if you've never witnessed a kill switch in action. But now check out our pickup cavities. We can see through to our bare mahogany to see its construction, but if you're curious, hey, why do we have 2 channels going on here? That's because the most interesting thing about a Mustaine spec V is he's one of the first ones that I can remember anyways that forced Gibson to put the output jack on the inside of a Flying V's horn. It's a common spot for other V manufacturers, but he made Gibson do it. So, before they even put the neck on, as far as I understand it, they take this long drill bit that runs straight through the guitar. So they got to go this way and that way for all your controls and your pickup wires to go through. So if you're curious, hey, what's this additional wire coming through here? That runs all the way down here to our output jack. I don't remember if I had my more professional endoscope last times. Let's see if we can take a trip in here. There we go. I can't, well, okay, maybe I can't fit in here. We got some spider webs. Any secret messages hidden away in here? We found some crazy stuff before. You might be able to see my finger here. Yep, we're just about to get to the pickup route, but it's just not quite big enough for it to go through. But that is verification of our drill run. And this is right where the neck joins onto the body, so you can see some of the glue seeping through there. Interesting stuff that you won't see anywhere else. Let's see, can we go this way? Not quite, the camera's a bit too long to bend it. But don't worry, we'll see the rest here shortly. As now we need to talk about a bridge and tailpiece. It's just a regular Nashville style one on your bridge. It's just black instead of the regular chrome done up by API. It's got the bushings within the body, and it is a full weight black tailpiece. This is currently set up as top wrap, so I'm gonna leave it like that, just to have some variety. If you're not familiar with what top wrapping is, instead of putting your string through this way and stringing it up like normal, you wrap it around the back and it reduces the break angle. What that allows you to do is completely deck your tailpiece without worrying about collapsing your bridge. And in theory, it makes the guitar feel a little bit slinkier to play. But just like the last time we reviewed the Mustaine, these do not have a pore filler on them. So you can actually still see the mahogany wood grain. You're either gonna love that or hate it. It's just part of these guys and how they were made and how many of Gibsons are. Where it becomes problematic is spots like this. That's a lot deeper of a wood grain section, so it almost looks like a giant gouge in it. But no, it is nearly entirely flat as far as the clear coat is concerned. Now that said, if you're interested in purchasing this from me, it's got nicks and dings all over it. This was a well-used guitar. I wouldn't say abused though. The worst things on this really are the finish checking that we'll talk about later on. But here's another small impression ding. A couple more down here. It's a bit hard to differentiate them between the lacquer sink. There's also a couple of dings from the installation of our kill switch. Might as well grab some dimensions while we're here. The wingspan is just a bit shy of 16 3/4, whereas the overall length of the body to the feet, I would say about 21.5. Overall depth, about 1.5 inches. But moving on from our body, we've got that mahogany neck with an ebony fretboard. And we've got these Dean-looking inlays, whatever they call them. I suppose you could say it's like a... Oh. I see something different now that I'm looking in the inverse. I've always only looked at them in the solid. Oh my. Or perhaps we could say they're Dracula fangs, because hey, we are in spooky season now. That's why we gotta document these spooky guitars. But speaking of spooky, holy cow, I don't know what happened here, but the binding got a little bit chewed up. That looks like it got dinged on something. If you took some sandpaper, you could probably file that out. I noticed another gash right here, so perhaps somebody was working on the frets. Maybe it left the factory like that. If I remember correctly, when these things came out, the tooling marks weren't the best. Like, I can actually see quite a few slightly more minor examples over here on our bass side. So it's possible, but there's no way to know, and we can't fault Gibson if we don't know for sure. If you're curious why this doesn't have fret nibs, if somebody refretted it, is that why we have those? No, that's just how the Mustaine models are. He wanted them nibless. But I measure 1.72 inches at the nut, 212 at the 12th, 0.8 first fret neck depth, and wow, 0.91 at the 12th. Wide and thin. That is the best way to describe these. And it really is quite a unique offering from Gibson, because it also offers the 25.5-inch scale and what looks like a 12-inch fretboard radius. So slightly longer scale length than a regular Gibson and a unique neck profile. Looks like we might have had some mild work done to the nut, as far as maybe widening out the slots and putting some lubrication in there. But here's where the finish checking begins. So what that looks like to me is all you're seeing is where the binding truly ends and the neck begins. That does not look nefarious. Same thing down here. That's just a seam line showing, and then you got some additional finish checkings up there. Because depending on your lighting, you can see that run pretty much all up the neck. That is not a break in my opinion. But I can also understand why somebody, when they bought it brand new, is like, hey, I'd rather have one that doesn't have this. But now we're on the used market where it doesn't matter. I find this interesting. Do you guys see where the lacquer is starting to yellow right here? That doesn't look like stand rash to me. That looks like the finish is reacting to the peghead veneer. So I bet all of those will eventually get a yellowness to them, because I already see that happening to this one. But now on to the face of the headstock. Want to make sure I take some time to point out we do have a clear coat chip up there. It was dinged around and played. And here we can verify our mahogany neck, and our truss rod's in good shape with a blank cover. Now moving on to the backside, the moment you've all been waiting for. Has there been any other modifications to this control cavity? Yes. Not a lot, but he did have to chop just a little bit additional out of the ridge that our backplate sits on in order to get that kill switch to fit in there. But very nice. It is indeed a Sanwa branded kill switch, so exactly what Buckethead uses. And remember, we got rid of the main volume pot, so I think he had to change around a little bit of additional wiring. Looks like he reinforced our pickups with some tubing and now has them directly attached to our tone pot. But this guy knows what he's doing. That looks like quality solder work to me. Put some silver paint there. Somebody might even think it's original. But uh-oh, solder iron burn mark. I'm just teasing. It happens to all of us. Otherwise, I see a ding/scratch over there. The edges also have some. And I did receive a comment. Dude, nobody cares about the dings and scratches on your guitars. You gotta remember, these videos double not only as a history lesson and reviews, but they also advertise the instruments for sale. I want people to make informed decisions, because there's nothing worse than buying a guitar and it shows up nowhere near as described. It's like the whole reason I went into business is to give people an option of a dealer who will disclose the small things. So there's a small ding. We've got a larger one right there. This has got plate wear. But here's that finish checking along the edge by our heel again. Here's the other side that we didn't see. I gotta remember, that plays peekaboo on you depending on your viewing angle. That's the most extreme when you're looking down like that. Straight lines, fine. Slightly jagged, depends on the situation. Super jagged, usually not a good idea. Thankfully though, the backside of the neck is looking good here. Just our usual lacquer sink lines. I'm really sad he didn't buckethead-ify that, because that would have made it absolutely hilarious, especially if he could have made it look good. And judging by his mod skills over there, I think he could have. This one dates to late 2022. Still has the original Grover tuners on it. Note that the strap buttons are off center on this model. So instead of being here, he has it slightly over there. Then our other one is right here on this leg. All said and done, this one weighs 7 pounds, 7.1 ounces. Let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how it sounds. That's a really warm sounding guitar. I'm digging it a little bit more this time. You gotta be careful how heavy you pick these things though, because they will distort. was curious if he was going to get that to be popless or not. Like, you'll always have some popping on the clean channel. Even the true Buckethead signatures are like that. But for whatever reason, crank up the distortion. It's different. It does the Buckethead tones pretty nicely. But you really have to get used to that neck profile. I actually find it very comfortable for more jazzy style stuff. That's the nice thing about having a single volume control here, is both pickups are going to be equal no matter what when you roll your volumes down. So this is still the dirty channel, by the way. Ooh. Now that we know all about the Dave Mustaine Flying V Gibson USA again, what are my final thoughts? Did I like it better the second time around? Yes, and it's because what I preach on this show all the time. Managed expectations. The first time I was getting into one of these, I didn't really know what to expect and was caught really off guard. But since I knew beforehand that, yeah, it's going to be that wide, thin neck profile, which sure, it might not be my favorite, I was able to adapt to it. I really liked playing this thing clean. And of course, when you throw the distortion on, yeah, it's gonna sound good with that. But should Mustaine put these stock on the next ones? I'll leave that up to him, but I thought that was a lot of fun. And that's the thing about Buckethead signature is sometimes that's a little bit too extra for some people, the red and the white. This is very subtle. No one will even know you have a kill switch there. They're just gonna think it's another knob, but it's not. So if you're interested in being the next owner of this player's modified version of this guitar, you can find it for sale on my website, troglysguitarshow.com. And doubly, if you're in the market for a brand new guitar and you want to do the new guitar day process with me, sometimes, again, managed expectations. If you're not looking for absolute top value for your used instruments, sometimes I can make things like this work. But all right, troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. They're little temple building tiki huts. What were you thinking?